All right, welcome back everyone to the Dollar Trainer community. Angel and Kevin here back again with another episode. And today we're going to be talking about urgency inside of your business. And so what that means is just kind of like the need to move quickly in certain scenarios to make sure that things don't slip through the cracks. So before we get started, Angel, how are you doing today? And why don't you just kind of talk a little bit about that and like kind of like your experience with like urgency and kind of like, just your overall experience with it.
Yeah, so I feel like urgency can be in many different forms, which I know we'll probably touch on each of them, but like let's say for example, starting with consultations, I feel like people have to have a sense of urgency to get those consults scheduled. And something that actually comes to mind is even when you feel like things are going really well within your business, or you're maybe like 2 weeks into the month and you've already hit your goal for sales for the entire month. I think even in those situations, especially, still keep this sense of urgency within your business. And I tell people this, like some of our clients, is to set like small goals for yourself throughout the week. Like obviously you want to have goals within your business and sales goals and things like that, but even setting like small goals during the week. So if you normally have a goal to have like 5, 6 consultations in a week, set a small goal to maybe get like 8 consultations. So regardless of like how business is going, you always want to have this sense of urgency. And I think that's going to help out not only making sure that you're hitting goals or, keeping your business ahead of the game, but also it helps with the sales process, especially like trying to get someone signed on. Throwing in like a sense of urgency or sense of like scarcity as far as scheduling goes,
Yep.
helps within the sales process.
Yeah, that's really well said. I didn't even think about that. Like there, you can think about that word in really different a different capacity like that, like adding urgency for the clients to get started and stuff like that. That I think that's a really good way to look at it. What I always just think about is it's very easy in life in general to delay and procrastinate and be like, I'll get to that later, and then later turns into tomorrow, and tomorrow turns into next week. And it just doesn't fly in the business world. Like the people who are the fastest movers, from what I've seen, and this has been my own experience in life too. Like I know when I can get things done quicker and get to people quicker and just deliver a better customer service experience for people, that's when I feel like we are performing at our highest as a company. And
Mhm.
so I think this is all just to say, like, if we take it from the beginning of like what I think is the most urgent thing is like responding to people when they first come in. It's so easy to let that lead come in and be like, I'm busy right now. I'll call them back in 10 minutes. And like I said, then that turns into an hour, which turns into a day. And before you know it, you've just lost them, right? Because they've moved on to somebody else.
Yeah.
The other thing is like once you do talk to them, like urgency to try and squeeze them into your calendar to get out to their home or get them booked in for a consultation as quickly as possible, not delaying on that and being like, oh, let's do it next week. And, trying to get things done as quickly as possible. I think that it's very easy to just like let your mind take over and go like, I don't want to do that right now, so let me just delay on this. But as soon as like for me, whenever I hear that play in my head, like I don't want to do this or I'll do it later, the first thing I always try and correct and think of is like, can we just do it right now? Because if I can and I have time right now, there's no better time than the present.
Yeah. And not to go off on a tangent of like organization and stuff like that, but this also like plays into organization within your business and making sure that you're setting aside time for like the like admin stuff, office work, stuff like that, because obviously you want to be like handling leads and such in the moment. If you get a call, answer it right away. Or if you are talking with a client, like get that consultation scheduled right away. Or if someone signs up, make sure they're getting like their contract or all necessary paperwork right away. But at the same time, like those other like smaller things, you want to make sure that you're having that time at least every day. You don't have to, set aside a whole like 4 hours every single day to get like office stuff done. But just saying all of that to say is like making sure you are equally making time to not only take care of your clients and train the dogs and things like that, but also making sure that all those other little things are getting done. Because, you know, like you said, if you say, you know, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll do that later tonight, or, and you keep saying that every day, there's going to get to a point where like there is an actual sense of urgency and it's like damage
Yep.
control at that point. So you really just need to like handle things in the moment.
Yep.
But also just like naturally having the sense of urgency within your business. And I think maybe by having that mindset, it helps things get done a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, put yourself in like the customer's shoes and just be brutally honest about this. You know, it's so funny the amount of clients that have said to me like in like a moment of frustration, like, you know, I get it's frustrating because like I call these people call me and then I call them back like an hour or two later and they've already found somebody else. And they're like, it's funny that I get frustrated about that because I just know I would honest if I'm being honest with myself, I would do the same thing.
Mhm.
And that's like one of the most important things is being brutally honest and just being like, am I the type of person who would be willing to wait a day? Like if I've made the decision, I've made up my mind that I'm ready to move forward with purchasing anything, right? Like buying a new iPhone or, you know, starting to, you know, even like something is like you decided you want to remodel your kitchen. Like you're ready to do that now. You're ready to have a conversation with somebody now. It's just a bummer when they're like, oh, you know, they don't call you back right away or they don't answer when you call them. Like that just kind of deflates them, you know? So like jump all over that. And yeah, to touch on like another thing, one of the most important things to have a sense of urgency with is collecting payments. You know, we see that a lot of times and like kind of like a running joke where when people first, you know, come to work with us, they'll be like, I made my first sale. Like, great. How much did they pay you? Well, nothing yet. It's like, well, you didn't really make the sale yet, right? It's like the sale isn't done. It doesn't really exist until they process some sort of payment. So if you take nothing away from this call, guys, like the most important thing is when you're doing a consultation, as soon as anybody gives you any sort of green light about, yes, I'm ready to get started, I'm ready to pay, don't think of anything else other than processing that payment. Like, don't start talking to them about the weather or about their dog again. The only focus should be on like getting your card reader out and processing some sort of payment for them.
Yeah. And I've said this before too, like when people are reaching out to dog trainers, they already have their own sense of urgency. So whether, you know, they've had this experience where it's their last straw with their dog's behavior and they need a trainer now, or you know, they just whatever it is, typically anytime someone's reaching out for a trainer, it's because they are urgent to speak with a trainer. They need help
Yeah.
and so they're just kind of going through Google or wherever they're going, like down the list, trying to call someone to get in touch with someone, unless they, you know, had a specific recommendation to your company and they're ready to go with you. Again, typically they're just kind of going down a list of trainers and wanting to meet up with the first person that can take care of them or get them on their schedule. So if people have a sense of urgency to get their dog trained, you should have an even higher sense of urgency.
Yeah. Yeah. Super well said. And the other thing is like if you have to be brutally honest with yourself and realize like the incoming calls, like new clients is such a good example of this, right? Like if you started your business by delivering extremely good customer service and being the one who is answering every call, getting to every consultation as quickly as possible, and then all of a sudden you start getting busy and you lose that part of your business, and you're like, you just throw your hands up in the air, like, what am I going to do? I'm busy. It's like, that's probably not probably, that is when you need to make a decision that I'm going to hire somebody who can help support me with phones and stuff like that, because you're inevitably going to start losing the thing that made you great in the beginning and you're also going to start losing out on money. And with that, it's like your business is just going to bottleneck and you're going to have a really hard time growing and hiring and stuff like that, unless you can kind of really keep that urgency and consistency in place, where you can get to clients and honor and respect the fact that they need help now. So for anybody who's listening, like if you're just like letting calls fall by the wayside and you can't get to people and you're just like getting frustrated by that, it's like that's a clear sign that it's time to hire. And there's different ways you can do that. I mean, you can find somebody locally who can help you out with it. You can, you know, find a call answering service. There's a great company called Hello Cells. This is not like an affiliate thing. Like I wish it was. I wish I was making money from them, but the reason I like them and recommend them is because they do inbound as well as outbound calling. Most companies only do inbound calls. So they can follow up with people and stuff like that for you. I think there's another company called Ruby who does it and stuff like that. But it's an expense in your business, but if it costs you 500 or $1,000 a month and it allows you to get to people quicker and not miss calls, like that's going to be an expense that's going to give you a really good return on your investment as well.
Yeah. Um, and I think that's like one of the most important parts of having urgency within your business, because I think people like get to this point. I hear it quite often from some of our clients is people get to this point where they're busy and
Mm-hmm.
they want to stop doing consultations.
Yeah.
It's like you got all of these clients and all of this business and you hit all of these goals because you were urgently answering the phone and you were
Yep.
urgently setting up consultations and doing those consultations and having really good customer service. And all of that got you this business. And now that you're so busy, it's like you want to cut back on the quality of how you got those clients in the first place.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's like it's time to hire someone on, because aside from hiring someone on, it's like, you don't have a choice. You kind of have to do those things because that is what you need to, you know,
Yeah.
reach those goals and be
Mm-hmm.
successful. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, super well said. Like you don't really have a choice, and that's a vicious cycle. So I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like that's a really important thing for people to hear. It was something that I've experienced in businesses and different things I've done in life, and it's something I've seen with a lot of people. Where the trap is that the things that they do to get themselves busy, they start finding reasons to no longer do them because they're busy, right? So like the perfect example is you do consultations because you got nothing but time to do consultations. And then lo and behold, since you're doing consultations, you get really busy. And then you're so busy fulfilling the work, you delay on doing them. And then what happens is one day, it's kind of a slow process. It's not something that happens overnight, but a couple of weeks later, you wake up and go, I don't have as many payments coming in. I don't have as many, board and trains getting dropped off, or I don't have many private lessons getting started and stuff like that. So it's a really difficult thing to wrap your head around, but you need to keep prioritizing the urgency of getting consultations set and holding spots on your calendar even when you're busy. So that way 60 days from now, 90 days from now, you don't wake up one day and just go like, wow, there's really nothing going on this week.
Yeah. It's all about making sure that you're maintaining that quality of
Yep.
customer service whenever you initially have those leads come in.
Yep.
And I think like some people do struggle with like looking at the bigger picture of how they got that client, instead of just like, oh, these people were super committed to their dog, or these people really needed help, or they, had a lot of money and it was easy for them to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at your sales and all of that then, and then look at them now and look at what you're doing differently. You're not doing in-person consultations, you're doing them over the phone. Well, why is that different? Because you're not developing those like personable relationships with clients. You're not having that opportunity to get in front of them and really show them the value of what they're paying for.
Yep.
Little things like that I think sometimes people struggle to realize, really not looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like I had a client that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, and he was struggling a little bit within his business with like sales and stuff like that. And, we had a talk and we're talking about his whole sales process and things like that. And then all of a sudden he was doing really good. The only difference was the amount of time that he was investing into his consultations.
Yeah.
He went from doing like 20 to 30-minute in-person consultations to like 45-minute to an hour.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that, but when he explained it to me, as soon as he said it out loud, then I kind of smiled and he was like, okay, so that's the difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's time, it's more time. It's, an hour as opposed to like 20 to 30 minutes, which sounds like a pain, especially when you have dogs to train and, you're driving all over town and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the point is your clients are paying a lot of money for your services. So I think it makes sense and you owe it to them to give them that much of your time to develop that kind of relationship and again, help them like truly see the value in what they're going to be investing in with you.
Totally. And you just hit the nail on the head. Like your mind starts playing tricks on you. Like your emotions start playing tricks on you where you start going like, it couldn't possibly, the market has changed. Like you get so busy and doing consultations, and then again, the cycle is that you're so busy fulfilling the work, you don't have time to do consultations. So you try and start doing them over the phone, and no one's buying anymore. And again, you don't reflect on that and go like, oh, it's because I changed something in my sales process. You just look at it and go like, it's the time of year, people are waiting for their tax refunds, or it's around the holidays, or it's the 4th of July, whatever like excuse like you want to tell yourself. And so there is some validity, don't get me wrong, there's seasonality, like I'm not denying that at all. We all see that in our businesses, but you know, it's very easy to not actually identify and just like make an emotional decision and be like, it's some external outside factor that's influencing this. It's not something that I'm doing or not doing, you know? So the psychology of this is so interesting because, you know, we've talked about this on different calls, but it's way harder to operate your business like this. Like this is why most people don't do it. And most people don't succeed to the level that they want to. And it's a really high standard and high bar to set for yourself to be like, we answer every call when it comes in. Or if we miss it, like we follow up with everybody. And like any lead that we don't touch base with, we have them on a list and we follow up with them every single day until we finally, you know, connect with them. Like that's a very difficult thing to do. It's easier to just have a call come in, you miss it, call them back a couple hours later, they don't answer, you leave them a voicemail, and maybe you send them a text message and then like, oh, they fizzled out. The lead was no good, right? That's way easier to do. You kind of let yourself off the hook by saying like the lead was no good. But I'm telling you right now, like anybody who's calling you, like if you have these senses of urgency there and you just honor that and like get them on a call, then you never have to worry about the like, oh, they didn't answer when I called them back. You just totally avoid that whole runaround.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some leads truly just aren't great. Some people really are calling around to trainers expecting like, you know, to get a lesson for like $30 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that you will have more success by looking at how you could have potentially handled that lead different or nurtured it differently or followed up with them or whatever it is versus just automatically putting blame on the lead. You know, they were, you know, only worried about money, so they're not going to be able to afford it or, you know, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be true, but I think by having that mindset is going to better your process.
Yeah, 100%. And so speaking of urgency, unfortunately, I poorly managed my time today and we have another call coming up here. So this is going to be a short episode for today, but I hope you guys got some value out of this. As always, like if you guys found some value in this, like hit the like button, leave a comment below, you know, tell a friend about the Dollar Trainer community and kind of like the stuff we're talking about inside of here. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys are finding a lot of value in this. And if there's anything that you guys would really like for us to talk on, any subjects or topics, leave them down below in the comments because we read all that stuff. And if there's something that we think would be helpful to other people, and if you think would be helpful to you, more than likely it is going to be helpful to other people. So drop a comment. And yeah, we will see you guys very soon in the next video. See you guys.
Okay.